There is a moment every parent of twins experiences in silence, usually sometime around 3 in the morning, when exhaustion feels endless and the future seems impossible to imagine. The bottles pile up, the laundry never stops, and sleep becomes a distant memory that almost feels fictional. In those early months, many parents secretly wonder if life will ever feel normal again. But something extraordinary begins to happen after 6 months. The chaos does not disappear overnight, yet the storm slowly starts to calm. Tiny routines begin to form, smiles become more frequent than cries, and confidence quietly replaces fear. This is not just a story about surviving twin parenthood. It is a message for every exhausted mother and father who feels overwhelmed today. Because the truth is simple, powerful, and deeply human. You will survive, and one day you will look back amazed at how strong you became. Becoming parents of twins changes every corner of life in ways no book, video, or conversation can fully prepare you for. The first months often feel like a test of endurance, patience, and emotional strength unlike anything you have ever experienced. Yet hidden inside the sleepless nights and overwhelming routines is a transformation that slowly begins to shape you into stronger, wiser, and more resilient people. After 6 months, something remarkable happens. The impossible begins to feel manageable. The fear that once controlled your thoughts slowly gives way to experience, rhythm, and hope. This video is for every parent standing in the middle of exhaustion, wondering if brighter days are truly ahead. They are, and if this message speaks to your heart, take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share it with another parent who may need encouragement today. Sometimes hope arrives through the words of someone who understands the journey. The first 6 months with twins often feel less like living and more like surviving a powerful storm that never completely stops. Every hour seems to belong to someone else. Sleep becomes fragmented into tiny pieces that barely restore energy, and parents quickly discover that exhaustion is not simply being tired but existing in a constant state of physical and emotional depletion. The days blend together until time itself becomes difficult to measure. Morning feels identical to midnight because the responsibilities never truly end. Feeding schedules dominate the clock, diapers pile up endlessly, and even simple tasks such as taking a shower or eating a warm meal begin to feel like impossible luxuries. Many parents secretly question whether they are capable of handling such enormous responsibility. Yet hidden within that chaos, something important begins developing. Parents learn endurance in ways they never imagined possible. They begin operating through instinct, teamwork, sacrifice, and unconditional love. Even though the early months may appear endless, every difficult night slowly builds the foundation for future strength. The exhaustion feels permanent, but it is temporary. The confusion feels overwhelming, but clarity eventually arrives. And somewhere deep inside the sleepless routine, parents unknowingly begin becoming stronger than they have ever been before in their lives. One of the biggest transformations after 6 months is the gradual return of predictability. In the beginning, life with twins often feels completely controlled by randomness. One baby sleeps while the other cries. One finally finishes feeding just as the second begins demanding attention. Parents constantly feel one step behind, unable to create order inside the chaos. But around the 6-month mark, routines slowly begin taking shape. Sleep patterns become slightly more stable, feeding schedules start aligning more naturally, and parents begin understanding the personalities and needs of each child more clearly. This new rhythm changes everything emotionally. Instead of reacting to constant emergencies, parents begin anticipating needs with growing confidence. That confidence creates emotional breathing room, and breathing room changes the entire atmosphere of the household. The home may still be noisy, messy, and exhausting, but it no longer feels impossible to manage. Small victories suddenly carry enormous emotional weight. A successful nap, a peaceful morning, or an uninterrupted family meal can feel like major accomplishments. These moments remind parents that progress is real, even when it arrives slowly. Survival gradually transforms into adaptation, and adaptation eventually becomes confidence. The storm has not completely passed, but parents finally begin seeing glimpses of sunlight beyond the clouds ahead. Another profound change after 6 months is the emotional connection that deepens between parents and their twins. During the newborn stage, survival often dominates every interaction. Parents spend so much energy meeting physical needs that they sometimes feel emotionally disconnected from the experience they imagined before the babies arrived. Love exists deeply, but exhaustion can make it difficult to fully enjoy the moment. Then something beautiful begins happening. The babies start smiling intentionally, recognizing familiar faces, laughing unexpectedly, and responding emotionally to their environment. Suddenly, the relationship no longer feels entirely one-sided. Parents begin receiving emotional feedback from the tiny humans they have sacrificed everything to care for. Those smiles have extraordinary power. A single laugh during a difficult day can completely transform the emotional atmosphere inside the home. Parents start realizing that their efforts are producing something meaningful and alive beyond survival alone. The twins begin developing individual personalities, unique expressions, and different emotional reactions that make each child feel increasingly distinct. This emotional awakening changes the family dynamic completely. Parents no longer feel trapped inside endless routines without reward. Instead, they begin experiencing moments of joy powerful enough to balance the exhaustion. Hope stops feeling theoretical and starts becoming visible in everyday life through simple but unforgettable interactions between parents and children each day. Many parents of twins experience intense feelings of guilt during the first months because they constantly feel divided. They worry about whether each child is receiving enough attention, enough affection, or enough individual connection. The emotional pressure becomes overwhelming because caring for two babies simultaneously often forces parents into impossible situations where someone must wait. After 6 months, however, many parents begin understanding an important truth that changes their mindset completely. Perfect balance does not exist, and love does not require perfection to be powerful. Parents gradually realize that their children are thriving not because every moment is flawless, but because they are consistently present, caring, and emotionally invested despite the challenges. This realization removes enormous emotional weight from their shoulders. Instead of focusing constantly on perceived failures, parents begin appreciating their resilience and dedication. They start seeing evidence of success in their children's growth, smiles, curiosity, and attachment. The pressure to control every detail slowly fades, replaced by a healthier understanding of what truly matters. Children do not need flawless parents. They need loving ones who continue showing up every day even when exhausted. This shift in perspective becomes one of the most healing emotional changes after 6 months because it allows parents to stop fighting impossible expectations and finally recognize the incredible work they are already doing every single day. The relationship between partners also experiences dramatic evolution during this period. The first months with twins can place enormous strain on even the strongest relationships. Sleep deprivation affects communication, patience, and emotional availability. Small disagreements can suddenly feel enormous because both people are operating under constant stress and exhaustion. Many couples silently fear that the emotional distance growing between them might never disappear. Yet after 6 months, many parents discover something unexpected. Surviving together creates a unique bond built through shared sacrifice and resilience. Couples begin understanding each other in deeper ways because they have witnessed one another during moments of extreme vulnerability and exhaustion. They have seen each other continue giving love even when physically and emotionally drained. That experience changes relationships profoundly. The teamwork developed during survival becomes a foundation for greater emotional intimacy later. Parents also begin finding small opportunities to reconnect as the routines stabilize slightly. A quiet conversation after bedtime, a shared laugh during chaos, or even a simple meal together suddenly feels meaningful again. These moments remind couples that they are not only caregivers but also partners, navigating one of life's most demanding experiences side by side. The challenges remain real, but many relationships emerge stronger because surviving twin parenthood together reveals emotional strengths neither person fully understood before this journey began for them. Another powerful change after 6 months is the return of identity. During the newborn stage, many parents feel as though their entire existence disappears beneath responsibility. Individual hobbies, ambitions, routines, and personal interests are temporarily buried beneath constant caregiving demands. Life becomes centered entirely around survival and the baby's needs. Many parents quietly wonder whether they will ever feel like themselves again. After 6 months, however, small pieces of identity begin returning slowly but meaningfully. Parents may rediscover simple activities they once enjoyed, even if only briefly. Reading a book, exercising, enjoying music, or spending time outside starts feeling possible again. These moments matter far more than they might appear because they remind parents that they still exist beyond their responsibilities. The return of identity also improves emotional health significantly. Parents begin understanding that caring for themselves is not selfish but necessary for long-term resilience. They realize they can love their children deeply while still maintaining their own individuality. This balance creates healthier emotional stability inside the home. The twins benefit from seeing happier, calmer, and more emotionally fulfilled parents. The process happens gradually, not instantly, but each small moment of personal reconnection becomes a sign of recovery. Parents slowly stop feeling consumed entirely by survival and begin recognizing themselves again beneath the exhaustion and responsibility that once dominated every aspect of daily life completely. The physical exhaustion also begins changing after 6 months in ways that dramatically affect emotional well-being. In the early months, sleep deprivation reaches levels many parents never imagined possible. The body constantly operates in emergency mode, surviving through adrenaline and instinct rather than genuine rest. Concentration weakens, emotions intensify, and even simple decisions become difficult. Parents often feel disconnected from themselves physically and mentally. Around the 6-month mark, even small improvements in sleep can create enormous emotional transformation. A few uninterrupted hours suddenly feel life-changing. The body slowly begins recovering from months of constant strain, and parents notice subtle but important changes in mood, patience, and energy. Tasks that once felt unbearable become manageable again. Emotional reactions soften because the nervous system is no longer trapped in complete exhaustion every hour of every day. This recovery also allows parents to become more emotionally present with their children. Instead of merely surviving the day, they begin noticing moments of beauty more clearly. They observe expressions, milestones, and interactions with greater emotional awareness because their minds finally have space beyond basic survival. Rest does not solve every challenge, but it changes the emotional landscape dramatically. Parents begin feeling human again, and that shift creates hope powerful enough to carry them through future challenges with greater confidence and emotional stability than before. One of the most surprising realizations parents experience after 6 months is how much stronger they have become without fully noticing it. During the difficult nights of the newborn phase, most parents feel fragile, overwhelmed, and uncertain. They focus so intensely on surviving each day that they rarely stop to recognize their growth. Then one day they suddenly look back and realize they are doing things that once seemed impossible. They can calm two crying babies simultaneously, manage complex routines under pressure, and function through challenges that previously would have broken their confidence entirely. Strength developed quietly through repetition, sacrifice, and persistence. This realization becomes deeply empowering because parents understand that resilience is not something people are born with fully formed. It is created through experience. Every sleepless night, every difficult feeding, and every emotional breakdown contributed to building emotional endurance. Parents begin trusting themselves more because they have evidence of their own survival. Fear gradually loses power when people recognize what they have already overcome. The challenges do not disappear entirely, but confidence changes how those challenges are experienced emotionally. Parents stop seeing themselves as helpless victims of chaos and begin recognizing themselves as capable individuals who have adapted to extraordinary circumstances. This inner transformation often becomes one of the most meaningful and lasting gifts hidden within the difficult journey of raising twins during those exhausting first months together. After 6 months, parents also begin witnessing the extraordinary bond forming between the twins themselves. During the newborn phase, the babies may appear mostly disconnected from one another beyond simply sharing space and schedules. But gradually, small interactions begin emerging that feel almost magical to witness. The babies start noticing each other intentionally, smiling together, reaching toward one another, and responding emotionally to shared experiences. Parents begin understanding that they are not only raising two children individually but also nurturing a unique lifelong relationship unlike any other. Watching this connection develop creates emotional rewards that often outweigh many earlier struggles. There is something profoundly moving about seeing twins comfort one another naturally or share moments of joy without understanding why those interactions feel so powerful to the adults around them. These moments remind parents that the difficult journey carries extraordinary beauty within it. The twins become companions in ways impossible to fully explain. Parents also realize that although caring for twins brings immense challenges, it also creates experiences few people will ever fully understand. The household slowly transforms from a place defined primarily by exhaustion into a place filled with growing personality, laughter, curiosity, and connection. The emotional atmosphere changes because the family is no longer focused entirely on survival. Life begins feeling richer, warmer, and more meaningful as the twins' relationship starts unfolding visibly before everyone's eyes each day. Another important evolution after 6 months is the way parents learn to release comparison and embrace their own journey. In the early months, many parents constantly compare themselves to other families. Social media images, parenting advice, or unrealistic expectations created by society. They wonder whether they are doing enough, handling things correctly, or falling behind somehow. For parents of twins, this pressure becomes even heavier because their experience already differs significantly from typical parenting situations. After months of survival, however, many parents reach an emotional turning point. They begin understanding that comparison steals peace and ignores reality. Raising twins requires unique adaptations, sacrifices, and rhythms that outsiders may never fully comprehend. Parents start valuing progress instead of perfection. They celebrate small victories without measuring them against someone else's experience. This mindset shift creates enormous emotional freedom. The home becomes calmer because parents stop fighting unrealistic standards and start focusing on what genuinely works for their family. Confidence grows when people trust their own experience rather than constantly seeking outside validation. Parents realize that every family develops differently, and there is no universal formula for success. The journey of raising twins becomes less about meeting impossible expectations and more about creating love, stability, and resilience inside their own unique household. That emotional acceptance brings peace many parents desperately needed during those earlier months of uncertainty and overwhelming pressure. As routines stabilize after 6 months, many parents rediscover moments of joy that once felt impossible during the newborn stage. In the beginning, happiness often feels buried beneath survival. Parents love their children deeply, yet exhaustion makes it difficult to fully experience the emotional beauty they imagined before becoming parents. Then gradually, joy begins returning unexpectedly through simple moments. A synchronized laugh between the twins, a peaceful afternoon nap, a successful family outing, or watching the babies explore the world with curiosity suddenly creates genuine happiness again. These moments matter because they remind parents that life is no longer only about endurance. There is space for wonder again. Parents start creating memories rather than merely surviving responsibilities. They begin taking photos not just to document growth but because they genuinely want to preserve joyful experiences. The emotional atmosphere inside the home slowly changes from constant tension to cautious optimism. Difficult days still exist, but they are no longer endless. Joy becomes more frequent and more visible. Parents also become more emotionally present because they are not operating entirely through exhaustion anymore. They notice beauty in ordinary moments that previously would have passed unnoticed. This rediscovery of joy becomes deeply healing because it reconnects parents to the emotional meaning behind their sacrifices. The journey finally begins feeling not only survivable but also profoundly rewarding in ways they once feared might never arrive. If you are standing in the middle of exhaustion today, wondering whether life will ever feel lighter again. Remember this: the hardest seasons are often the ones quietly shaping your greatest strength. The first months with twins may feel endless, chaotic, and emotionally overwhelming, but they are not permanent. Little by little, routines will form, confidence will grow, and hope will return in ways you cannot yet fully imagine. One day, you will look at your children laughing together and realize you survived nights you once believed would break you, and more importantly, you will realize those difficult moments transformed you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. Parenting twins is not about perfection. It is about love, endurance, and continuing forward even when you feel exhausted. So keep going, because brighter days are coming, and you are already doing far better than you think.